Hi, hello. Welcome back, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Julia, and in this corner of the internet, we talk about art, books, and sometimes museums. Me and my partner are moving in another place. We found an apartment in Cologne where I actually work. So for almost 5 years, I had to travel from Bonn to Cologne almost every day. At some point, I worked part time, so I didn't need to travel like every day, but still, it was a hustle. I want to make this video for me to remember this moment, how I pack all the stuff and I move to another city. Can't wait. I also want to use this video to show my whole collection of my books. So this is like this regular IKEA Kallax shelf, and it's also like a division between my working space and our entertainment zone in the living room. So our apartment is really tiny, and we managed to combine in this living room our living room where we invite our guests, where we watch TV, where we enjoy our evenings together, as well as my little library, and also as our working space. So that is quite difficult to manage, and of course it feels very cluttered and there's no air in this room anymore. So I'm really also happy that we'll be moving to a big apartment, so we'll have space for everything. And yes, let's begin with actually this trolley. So I bought it specifically for books. I wanted to have this division for books, that I'm reading right now, that I'm going to read very soon. But this trolley actually ended up being just, books that has never been opened. Interestingly enough, these books, all of them, or almost all of them, are dealing with some theory, art theory, and just philosophy. Just right at the bottom, you probably don't even see it. That's just, some random stuff. I have glue here. I have my cameras. For example, this is like the old one I bought in the United States in like Urban Outfitters, I think. But it was like back in 2010. So this is like my memory. Actually, recently I also got photos from the film inside. It was pretty nice. Also film. Also, yes, developed films I have here. I also need to come up with the idea how to store all my films. I don't have a lot, and I'm not like it's not my main hobby, let's say, but if I happen to make photos, yes, that would be nice to have a nice storage for them, a nice archive. Also, this is from the Soviet time. It's Zenit, I think, or I don't know how it's called in English. Zenit, but in Russian I would say Zenit, and I think it is quite famous among hobby film photographers and professional film photographers as well. But yes, I think I got it from one of my friends. Maybe their parents had it. But now I have it, and I hope they will never find out that I still carry it around. So there's nothing much, in the trolley downstairs, but we have books here, and I'm gonna quickly show them what I have here. So as I said, there are mainly philosophy and art history. This one, the most recent one, I bought it in South Korea, in Busan. This is a Sophie's World, a history of philosophy. So I will be packing it in this box. Oh yeah, about the box actually. So as you can see, I obviously have this very cheap moving boxes. They have different sizes. They have two sizes. So one is a smaller one is the bigger. And this is actually the smaller one. And it's still pretty big. And I decided that I'm not gonna fill the whole box to the top with the books. However, I will be filling maybe a half of it with the books and half of it with clothes or some, pillows or whatever I find, because I don't want these boxes to be too heavy. Otherwise, me and my girlfriends, for example, will not be able to carry it around. So this is the first book that I will go to this box. Also, we have here Roland Barthes, Camera Lucida, have to read it. The History of Greece and Rome, The Classical World by Robin Lane Fox. I've read a half of it. I think it was It was very informative, it was good, but I think I'm just not interested that much in Roman and Greek history, unfortunately. It's ironic because I work on the archaeological project which deals with a lot of Roman history. But anyways, so this one, Your Everyday Art World. So my assumption is that this book is about how art can be found in the everyday objects and in everyday activities, such as work, for example, or I don't know, laundry or something like that. So this is my assumption, but I'm not sure about it. Anyways, it's a beautiful hard copy. It will travel with me. Usually when people are moving to another location, they of course unhaul some of the books. I actually did that backstage, let's say. I already did it before, even we traveled to South Korea. Because we were looking for an apartment, I knew at some point we're going to be moving, and I thought that yes, I better just get rid of the books. I left some of the books that are still waiting for you to check out in Buchbaum. If you live in Germany, please go and check that website. If you don't know yet, this is the website that is used in Germany to, exchange books and maybe get rid of the books that you don't need or find new books for your next read. Anyways, I have a couple of them waiting for people to request them and be sent to them. That's why I can't read of them yet, but yes, they will be traveling with me to my new apartments. So yeah, this what you're going to see is basically books that I'm either haven't read it, so it's basically on my TBR or purchased books, or I purchased them for reference. So yes, I do have a lot of reference books. These are for my research or maybe for my future videos. For example, whenever I make videos about art, I always pick them and search for something that I need, for the video, maybe some artwork or artists. I remember watching the video of the studio visit of the contemporary Chinese artist, Sai Guochang, I think his name, and he showed his very big library in the studio, and he said,
买了很多书和影像，但大量的时候这些都没有好好读完，可是就是有思考。就像我朋友说的，那些书不象征着我的知识，象征着我的野心而已。
So that is my case as well. Here I have a couple of catalogs of, for example, Documenta 15. That is very big and important art festival here in Germany that takes place every 5 years. So I visited last year. These are the materials that I got. Obviously not gonna throw them away. The next book is this one. It is called Open System. So it's in Russian because it's a catalog of exhibitions in the whole country of Russia. But it was gathered by Garage, which is a garage museum in Moscow. I actually made a video about it. If you want to learn something new, if you want to learn new museum, you can check that out. The commission from this garage museum went on the tour throughout whole country. I mean, not the whole country, but visiting major Russian cities. And in this trip, they gathered information about local artists and local art practices. They also talked to one of my friends, my good friend Alex. Hi, hello, if you're watching me. And he organized so-called garage exhibitions. They had nothing to do with the name of the museum. He called them garage exhibitions because we were making them in the garage, in the real garage where people store cars. So this is actually the page where they put the information about my friend's exhibitions, and here I am in the book. This is me wearing a unicorn horn / LED light. And you can actually control it with the special application, so it transmits the light of your mood. So this is the work of my friend Alex. So yeah, and they collected the documentation from all his exhibitions, and now they have it in their archive and me in the book. So I'm very, very proud of it. The next one is Copy This Book, an artist's guide to copyright. I would say it's not just an artist's guide, it's just any creator's guide to copyright. Very concise, very useful. Would recommend to pick it up. The next one, oh yeah, Tom Wolfe, The Painted Word. great essay. Elvia Wilk Oval, didn't like the book. Would You Rather, Bachelorette Party Game, Dirty Edition. So this is what my girlfriends did to me for my bachelorette party before my wedding. Oh yeah, that's another book about Documenta, a brief history of an exhibition and its context. I purchased specifically before I traveled there because I actually wanted to make a video about Documenta, but then I realized that I cannot handle difficult subjects because at that time Documenta had kind of a scandal and I wasn't ready to face it, so I decided to maybe postpone it for the next time. The Hedgehog and the Fox by Isaiah Berlin. I actually read this book in one of my 24 hours marathons, reading marathons. So yes, that was exciting, very interesting theory. And the next books I have here by Lev Gumilov. I think I can translate it as The End and the Beginning Again. Lev Gumilov was an ethnologist, anthropologist, historian, and translator. He wrote this book about the theory of history where he suggests that the whole history and historical development is moved by so-called Persianaries, like all these leaders that are actually changing the history. Well, yeah, whatever. Anyways, Lev Gumilov was also a son of two very prominent Russian poets, Nikolai Gumilov and Anna Akhmatova. The next one is The History of Philosophy by Grayling. I have it just as, a small encyclopedia, and if I have any questions about, the history of philosophy or any particular philosophical movement or philosopher, I just go there, quickly read it, done. The next one is here, Art by Clive Bell. Also very important for theory and for art history is Jean-François Lyotard, The Postmodern Condition, A Report on Knowledge. This is probably the first theoretization of postmodernism. The next one is The Books That Shaped Art History. This is the collection of essays. Each essay is about a particular art historian. What bothers me is that there's only, I think, two women, Rosalinda Krauss and Svetlana Alpers, and I really need to read this at some point, but yeah, not now, I guess. The next one is another very important theoretician is Pierre Bourdieu, The Field of Cultural Production. The next one I also purchased quite recently is What Dementia Teaches Us About Love by Nikki Gerard, or Nikki Gerard. I'm not sure, sorry. But yeah, I think it's a deep dive into like the relationship between people when some of them or one of them hits dementia. These two are very important also for art history, and if you're an art history student, you're probably familiar with this one. This is Heinrich Wölfflin, Principles of Art History. I don't know how about you, but here in Germany it's a must if you're an art history student. And this one I got for my PhD project, Inventions of the Studio, Renaissance to Romanticism, edited by Michael Cole and Mary Pardo. This is also the collection of essays of various artists of this art period. This is basically very related to my PhD subject, which is Studio of the Artists, that I never finished. Anyways, here on the second shelf, I have just quickly two books that my mom brought me. This is like my attempt in my teenage era to try to learn Italian language. This is the travel guide about Italy, and this is the Russia-Italian vocabulary. Don't know anything in Italian. An Image of Africa by Chinua Achebe. I mentioned this book many times in my TBR and my wrap-up video because I read it recently. So yes, just a reminder that you also have to read this essay. The next one is here, Richard Sennett, Together. I heard many good things about this author, and this is his exploration of our rituals and traditions that we tend to do together and how it brings our evolution and also us as communities together. I assume this is what this is about because I never actually read it, but yes, I would love to, and I heard that he is a great thinker and writer. Next one here is just, also a very useful book, Art History, The Key Concepts, basically like a dictionary or like encyclopedia of main concepts and terms by Jonathan Harris. The next one I actually found in book crossing shelves here in our city. It's called Story and Discourse, a narrative structure in fiction and film by Seymour Chapman. I picked it because it sounds like, a theory in narration and story making. So yes, but I've read like a couple of pages, but I dropped it. I think it is still difficult for me to understand it alone without like any guidance. But maybe I will come back to it because, you know, I read nowadays more various books, like not just nonfiction, not just academic and theoretical books. So maybe I will, you know, have more examples in my mind while approaching this theory. I hope this day will come and I'll read it. Oh yeah, Michel Foucault, The Archaeology of Knowledge. I never finished that. I actually had a lot of problems with reading his work in English translation. On the other hand, I have also here Michel Foucault, but in Russian, and that was easier to read, but still quite complicated, of course. This book consists of two of his works. I think the first one is translated in English as Discipline and Punish, and the second one is, well, I guess The Birth of Prison. Certainly in French, it's called The Birth of Prison. I think that Russian people should familiarize themselves with these kind of works, with, you know, basic political theory, and if not reading like complete works, but maybe at least, you know, a couple of fragments or maybe like sum-ups written by many researchers. So yeah, anyways, I wanted to have it in full. I haven't finished it, unfortunately, so that's probably a reason why we have a lot of problems. We never finish books, you know? The next one, The Philosophy of Modern Read by Herbert Reed. Nothing to add here. Another one, theoretical, is Claude Lévi-Strauss, The Savage Mind. Very important, not just for art historians, but also if you're an anthropologist. I think this is your Bible, probably. Oh yeah, the next one, one of our friends who was here at our place once noticed this book, and she said that it's actually like symbols in the Squid Game, in this very popular Korean TV show. I haven't watched that, and I said, excuse me? This is actually The Philosophy of Art History by Arnold Hauser. Very important and influential philosophical work. So yeah. I also have here Immanuel Kant, The Critique of Judgment. I will never be able to read it, I assume. Maybe one day, but not now. The Language of Art by Nelson Goodman, very also important to have as a reference. Oh, and these two also very important, but probably will never be finished. Theodor Adorno, Prisms. This is like a collection of essays by very important thinker Theodor Adorno. And of course, Ludwig Wittgenstein, The Blue and Brown Books. I'm not sure when I'm going to dive into his philosophical investigations, but yes, of course I have it. Okay, now I'm ready with the trolley. I'm so happy about it. So basically one box is ready. Another day, another box. And this evening I'm sitting in front of my IKEA Kallax bookshelf, which is also a very popular bookshelf, probably the next one after Billy. Anyway, so as I probably already mentioned, if not, then yes, it is not just a bookshelf for me. It's also a division between the entertainment area and my little office, let's say. So the interesting thing about this is that I put books from both sides. And if I have, for example, big books, take for instance this book, I have this Petra, Art, History and Itineraries in the Nabataean Capital. So if I have on this side a bigger book, then on the other side I have like a smaller editions and yeah, smaller publications, brochures and etc. So yeah, that was my logic. I wanted to, you know, save some space. Yeah, let's begin with the Petra book. Here's my opportunity to show you a little bit of structure that I had. So first of all, these books should not be in any approximation of my house because I wanted to get rid of them. And this is from my husband. It's called The Internet of Things. If you need that, I can send it to you. The next one is Bill Gates, How to Avoid a Climate Disaster. It was very informative, but we decided also to say goodbye to this book. The Village, 400 Years of Beats and Bohemians, Radicals and Rogues, A History of Greenwich Village by John Strasbow. So I purchased this book because I use it as a reference book. I haven't read it completely. With the help of Index, I just dived into the chapters that I needed to, that I wanted to get information from. Probably not the best reference book because it's basically a non-fiction, which is very generalized history. Anyways, I don't need that anymore. Probably gonna be saying goodbye to this book. What the Man Want by Nina Power, also the book that I read, I think, last year or maybe a year before. Didn't like it, disagree with her arguments, and I think that can go too. Let's continue with the structure. So right in that corner, I keep the books that I've read, but I still want to have them in my collection. Actually, some of them I would love to get rid of, but it's quite difficult because they're, for example, in Russian, and nobody wants book in Russian in this country. So let's, for instance, take the UNESCO Snowman. I read it in Russian because the original, I think, is Norwegian. I thought, yeah, okay, I'll just might pick any translation, why not Russian? I didn't like it. I think it's too old school, and I think I might understand why it was the hype there like 10 years ago, but now probably not. Anyways, let's continue. This one is very good. So this one is actually also translation, also in Russian, and it's called A.A. Gill is Away. It's basically a collection of essays by A.A. Gill, who's a journalist and a writer, and it's hilarious. And yes, and I think I got it together with like a magazine. It was like attached to the magazine about traveling. So yes, I love this book. Here's I also have Alice Smith, Autumn and Winter. Winter didn't like it, Autumn enjoyed it. I think I might continue with this collection maybe next year. I'll think about it. The Martian by Andy Weir. Yes, hilarious book. I think it's fun. Homebody by Rupi Kaur. It was a gift from my girlfriend, so of course I'm gonna keep it. Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikatsu Kawaguchi. It was heartbreaking. I was crying when I was reading that, but it's so like manipulative. This book knows how to touch your soul in order for you to shred the tears, so that was quite disappointing. I mean, it is disappointing, but at the same time I like when I cry with a good book, you know. So yeah, I am that person. 84 Charing Cross Road, quite famous short story, or yeah, you could say novel, that is written in the form of letters, so people are exchanging letters. Can't say that I enjoyed that. It was too simple, I think. Money by Yuval Noah Harari, which is the excerpts of his masterwork, Sapiens. I don't remember how I got this copy, but yes, still. Oh yeah, and also Leo Tolstoy. Actually, this is the book that I haven't read, yet it still stands in that little corner. Anyways, if you read War and Peace, you know that the half of the book is basically like his theory about chaotic nature of history, and I assume that this is like the continuation of his thoughts. So this is also like, I have to read it at some point. It sounds very interesting to me. The Song of Achilles, no comments. Great book. Virginia Woolf, Mrs. Dalloway, of course, I have to have it in this edition. It's very beautiful. Lumbung Stories, edited by Harriet C. Brown. This is the collection of essays published specifically for the Documenta Art Festival that takes place in Kassel, in Germany. A couple of artists who participated in this art festival also wrote essays, or short stories, let's say, not essays. And yeah, and also writers who wanted to contribute also. The Lonely City by Olivia Lang, masterpiece, I love it. A Little Break for Cacao. King Stories, edited by Errol Kwon and Garth Greenwell, also already read it, so yeah. I'm gonna pack this very quickly. Okay, on this shelf I have a collection of books on mythology, not all of them, but the most beautiful, let's say, but also on the anatomy. So this is kind of random because actually I was trying to color code this shelf, so like from orange to brown, but I don't know, kind of failed. Anyways, so this book should not be here, but I didn't have place for that. So this is the Peter Ackroyd, London, the biography. Obviously I haven't read the whole, only particular chapters that I so I was looking like information on like the art studios and artists who are living in London. I couldn't find a lot, but still it was very entertaining. I learned a lot about the history of London, which is marvelous city. I wish I someday visit. So yeah, this is it. So the next one, this book is basically a reference book. I also purchased that for my PhD project just to verify some of the data, but I think I don't need that anymore. But I don't know what to do with that. Probably I'll try to actually get rid of it. Maybe sell it. Yeah, or maybe I'll just bring it to work because it's actually like a historical records. Maybe it will be useful for my work. I don't know. Yeah, I'll ask my colleagues about it. Oh yeah, this one. My husband also loves to point out to this book and tell me that I collect useless books. This is The Grey's Anatomy by Henry Gray. So I purchased that. First of all, I think it's Barnes and Noble edition. And I don't know, I somehow got it on like the secondhand shop online. And I wanted to have it because I've heard that some of the artists, specifically Basquiat, for example, who's a very famous, yeah, let's say modern artist. So I heard that he began to draw when he was very sick and he was in a hospital, and his mother brought him the Grey's Anatomy book, and he started to like copy some of the drawings from this book, like anatomical paintings. That's why I think he very often has like skeletons, for example, or skulls on the painting. It's kind of like an attempt to stylize the anatomy drawing, I guess. So yes, and I thought, okay, I have to have it. So I did, and I think it's still like a very useful, I think, encyclopedic book that everybody should have. What else I got here? Oh yes, the Oxford Companion to Art. This is also was bought for me for reference reasons, also for quotations. You know, quite useful actually in my field. Oh yeah, this one. So it has nothing to do, of course, with the mythology and with anatomy, but still, it was the same like color, I guess. Again, my failed color coding. Anyways, this is Anthony Burgess' A Mouthful of Air. So obviously I have his book, A Clockwork Orange. It was painful to read, and I actually haven't finished that. I found it very fascinating how he uses words from Slavic languages, I think primarily from Russian, and how he incorporates it in this language, like English language. But what I found difficult is that he uses very unknown to me words that when I translate that, they're very obscene. And I was like, whoa, I never heard so many obscene words in like one sitting. So but still, later in my life, I learned that he's actually like a linguist and very productive one, because he wrote, for example, this book. In this book, he writes basically history of language, I guess. Again, I haven't read the complete work, only part of it. He also covers a little bit of history, such as Ferdinand de Saussure, for example. So linguistic history, let's say, and explains how the sound works and how we produce the sound, and where you need to place, your tongue, and etc., etc. So this is like heavy duty linguistic, and of course I couldn't finish that. Oh, and yes, finally, Human Anatomy, depicting the body from the Renaissance to today. So this is basically the role of art in the representation of human body. So this is a very beautiful edition, and I wanted to have it badly. So here we are. Here we have it. Oh yeah, finally we're coming to to the myth. So this is the Stephen Fry Mythos. Very entertaining, very beautiful edition. And yes, I learned a lot, and it's in a very plain, very simple, let's say, and accessible English. I appreciate that. This one again has nothing to do with the subject that I mentioned, but it's kind of like a color coding on the shelves. So this is The Brilliant History of Color in Art by Victoria Finlay. I enjoyed art inside. The pictures are very beautiful. I don't know, like I've read a couple of books on the history of color, so I can't actually decide which one is like the best book. And I can't say that this is like the book to go. No, I think it's a good one, and if you like beautiful books, yeah, sure, why not? Go for it. It has a lot of interesting facts about art and the history of colors. Yeah, okay. It's kind of related to mythology, isn't it? So this is the architect and sculptor in classical Greece, because I was trying to study the history of work, like the history of production of art. Of course, you need to deep dive into like Greece and Egypt and what the artists or let's say masters at that time did and how they did it. So I was with this book I was trying to search for the like the production sites where they did that, how they did that. So yeah, this is the book for that. And finally, this is like one of my favorites by the publishing house Phaidon, Myth in Art from Classical to Contemporary, and it's called Flying Too Close to the Sun. Reference. Anyway, so I love it, and I love that they not only included the classical artworks. I say classical, but it's like, yeah, just, you know, old artworks, but also contemporary artworks. And I love, oh my gosh, that's Cy Twombly, for example. And we all know, especially if you're watching my YouTube channel, you should know that Cy Twombly often in his artworks refers to the Greek mythology and yeah, those legends of that time. So yeah, this is a very, very beautiful book, and of course I have to have that in my collection. It travels with me. So I don't know, I think it's already kind of like full. I'll try to accommodate the small books also. And we will continue with the rest of the shelf. I'll take a little break. Yeah, sorry for the mic. Anyways, let's continue. In that corner, I have classical books, Bible, and also a lot of books about art. So let's just begin with a classic. This is like, I think, All Men's Slavery edition. So yeah, here's I have, I think, Melville. Oh no, Simone de Beauvoir, The Second Sex, and this is the Herman Melville Moby Dick. I've got here, this is the, let me translate. This book is in Russian, and it's called Portrait in Russian Art of the 17th Century by F.G. Nikolov. So this is the investigation of the portraiture as genre in Russian art. Pretty cool. Bible, the New Oxford Annotated Bible. And yes, continue with the books on art. I have here Bio Art, Altered Realities. So this is the collection of artists who work with bio art. So they like use organic materials, for example, or live materials in their artworks. And yeah, I love when they do that, and I love to see them in the museum exhibition halls. It's always stunning. It always has odor. It always has kind of some, you know, interesting smell or interesting and very natural look. Also an advantage. This is a book about the place where I work, basically. So this is a publication about our excavation. We're still working on it, so that's why not a lot of materials are published. But one of our previous managers, I haven't seen him. I didn't work with him, but he initiated the publication of this book. So basically, this is the book about the archaeological zone we excavate in the city center of Cologne, and it is fascinating. I was gifted this book obviously when I started to work there, and yes, we still have it here. The next couple of books, one is a very old one. I think I bought it in Russia. It's one of my first books in English, and again in Russia, in my city, in my hometown, there are not a lot of stores with English books. Just one store I remember very well was with the books, with academic books in English, like in various languages actually. And there was also like one big main bookstore, and there was a section with the foreign literature, and there I found it, and I spent like at that time an enormous amount of money for me because I think I was a student or something, and you know, I haven't had a lot of money, and so yeah, and I was super stoked about it. So yeah, I still have it. I particularly took it with me as, you know, a memory of my first attempt to get acquainted with the world famous art. And this one is Beadwork, a world guide. So this is basically a collection of various people from various corners of the world making beautiful stuff with the beads. I purchased that because I had an experience in my life to be an artist, and one of my works was consisted of many kilograms of beads. So yes, and of course I wanted to learn what comes before me. That's why, yeah, I've done small research, and I wanted to get this book for my collection, of course. And honestly, the last two books for today, because I'm a bit tired already. So, and because I'm not sure they all will have enough space. Anyways, so this is the catalog of Reynolds artworks. This is the British artist, I think, of the 19th century. And yes, this is basically the catalog of all his works known to people. And the last one is Piet Mondrian catalog of his works from the very beginning of his, let's say, artistic career until the very end, when his artworks became more and more abstract and basically became quite iconic, I think. So yeah, this is all for today. Again, I'm tired, and I think I got 2 boxes, which is a big progress. So yeah, there are only 2 top shelves left. So yeah, here at the bottom we only have some some documents, some catalogs, so nothing important. In there, however, you don't see it right now, but I will show you later, I have a couple of interesting books. So yeah, see you tomorrow, I guess. Yeah, see you tomorrow. And now I'm sitting here at the other side of the same shelf, Kellogg's bookshelf. So I actually, off the camera, I've packed a lot of books at the top of the bookshelf, for example, but there was nothing, I would say, interesting to show. Some of the books were quite pragmatic and practical. So, for example, books on psychology and relationship and finance. So the books that I, read when I need specific information, for example. I also had a stack of books in Russian. So it's either Russian classics or books in translation. So, for example, I've got poems by Rilke or 100 Years of Solitude, which is one of my favorite books of all times. So these books I also packed already because we had to, move faster, move boxes, and so yeah, I packed them off the camera, unfortunately, so I didn't have time to film that. This was the place designed for art historical books that are, this bigger size books, and I also needed them to, quickly pack something big at the bottom of the boxes. So I took them urgently, and yes, I didn't have a chance to show it to you. But maybe when I build the library at the new apartments, maybe then I'll have a chance to show it. Then let's continue. I still have a couple of big monographs, let's say. So these are the books that dedicated to particular artists. So this is the monograph produced by Tate Morton in 2008 about the artist Cildo Meirelles. It's a Brazilian conceptual artist. I love conceptual art, and this is like a collection of his works. I assume that were exhibited at Tate Modern back then. But yes, so this is the book that, of course, I'm taking with me. This one, the monograph of Sylve Fleur, and this is also a conceptual artist, and I love her artworks. They are very hilarious, I would say, very humorous, and very conceptual. In both cases, I haven't seen their works in real life, never had a chance. However, I knew about them, from other books, and I wanted to have like the whole monograph just to learn what they're doing apart from those couple of artworks that I've seen. I also have the Georgia O'Keeffe Museum book. So this is a collection of artworks in chronological order by Georgia O'Keeffe, but also a little bit of history of the building and opening a museum in her Adobe house in the United States. So this is also a very beautiful edition. I'm very proud of it. And and this one is a monograph of the artist Ulla von Brandenburg. Okay, so this is the German artist, and I've seen her artwork in Düsseldorf, and it is stunning. She uses different media, but the ones that I particularly love is her use of textile. So this is, for example, one of the excerpts from her artwork. So basically you are walking inside this installation covered with drapes and curtains, and you're like, walking through them. It's like a labyrinth, and then at the end there's a video installation. So this is I fell in love with, and then of course I picked the book in order to learn what else she does. So yeah, and the rest of the shelf is basically books that I purchased for my PhD research that I no longer writing actually, but still I have these beautiful books. They are about artist studios. That was the subject of my PhD. So the studio reader, for example, or inside the painter's studio, inside the artist studio, from the same artist and writer Joey Fig. Or for example, I have like particular books on particular art studios. This is, for example, the book that dedicated to the Francis Bacon studio, and this is particularly interesting conservational project. So basically his studio at the time of his death was located in London. Museologists, curators, and conservators decided to take his art studio and transfer it to Dublin, the place of his birth. And that is quite interesting because they preserved like all the objects that were found in the studio in the same condition, let's say, as it was found after his death. So it was very chaotic, and they tried to preserve the same atmosphere. So they documented all the objects in the room, and they basically like collected them and sent to Dublin Museum. So this is stunning work of conservators and restorators. I also have, this is like a magazine, German magazine about art studios. This is a guide to historic artists' homes and studios. And this book concentrates on the artists in the United States and maybe in America. No, I think it's only in the United States, including Georgia O'Keeffe, for example. So this is, it's more like a travel guide, and if you're interested in art, and if you ever in the United States, or if you're from, and if you're interested in the subject, I think you can pick it up and use it as a guide. Oh, for example, this one is by the artist Katharina Grosse. She lives and works in Berlin, and there in Moabit, which is an area district not so far from the city center, she built herself a studio. So basically this is the book about the process of creation of a studio, designing, and the philosophy behind it, let's say. Also, on some of the pages you can see her artworks, which is also very interesting. So yeah, these are the books on particular artists and particular art studios. And then moving on, here I have, okay, let's just quickly show it to you. I found in the book crossing a section in my city where I live now. So these are the history books in Korean. There were 4 books, and I picked only 4 and 5. These are the books on more modern history, and this is what I'm interested in. I'm not sure I will be able to read it, but I keep it just in case if I reach that level of Korean language, maybe I will reach out to these books and I will be interested to read it. So yeah, also here I have a section of books on theory and art history as well, a bit of feminist literature. So for example, this is a collection of articles about women and art. So it's called Strong Women for Art in Conversation with Anna Lenz. Another one I have here, I think it's pronounced Thames and Hudson. Anyways, so this is one of my favorite publishers actually. They have a lot of great books on art and culture, and this is, for example, Women, Art and Society. A hefty one, I have to admit, and they also have this laminated pages, which makes it even more heavier, but I cherish it. I have the same in the same collection. I have the photography as contemporary art, also a good one. And I would love, I actually can't wait to move and finally build my library, because then I have space for more of these editions. And I think the art historians who work on these editions, they usually like select a very interesting artworks and very interesting artists. Also, of course, I have Basics, the Story of Art by Gombrich. This is a very introductory, very welcoming book. If you want to begin to learn about art history, I think this is a great way to begin. As you can see, I have a lot of notes here. And what I love about this particular edition is that they put text separately, so it's just a solid text in the beginning, and then in the second part of the book it's just full of high quality images. Yes, and I enjoy this book very much. On the same note, I have here a couple of books by Penguin Publishing House. This one is Ways of Seeing by Joan Berger. This was a gift from my girlfriend, and this is also a very beginner friendly book if you want to learn about how art works and how we see art, how we perceive it, and what is the meaning of it all. And this is a great book, but I think for my American viewers, I don't need to introduce this book because I heard that a lot of Americans learn about art from John Berger. He also produced a TV series, the same, I think, title, Ways of Seeing. So yeah, it's a great way to begin. And also I have Ai Weiwei Speaks with Hans Ulrich Obrist. Hans Ulrich Obrist is one of the most famous, I think, curators of our times. He is now a curator at the Serpentine Gallery. I think it's in London. So he is a Swiss curator and I would say interviewer. I think his main work is actually to interview artists and people of all sorts. He got famous because of it, and he became influential through these interviews. There are actually a lot of like complete editions of his interviews with other artists. So far I have Ai Weiwei and Zaha Hadid, but yes, I would love to have more, but sometimes they're very expensive because probably because of the limited edition, but yeah. On feminism, I have, of course, Men Explain Things to Me by Rebecca Solnit and Women's Work, The First 20,000 Years by Elizabeth Wayland Barber. So this is the, let's say, social history of women and how they contributed to, society through their work and why sometimes it is left neglected. So also, I would say more on an academic side, a bit heavy to read, but at the same time, if you're interested in the subject, I'm sure you can handle it because you are a smart woman. Also, book on globalization, The Work of Art in the Age of Mechanical Reproduction by Walter Benjamin, of course. This is also the classics for any art historian. The Social Production of Art by Janet Wolfe also was important for my PhD project. And Roland Barthes Mythologies, nothing to do with my art project, but very educational. And if you're interested in, cultural studies and art and film, for example, history, I would recommend to pick that up. And this book's actually, I wanted to make a special video, but I'm not sure if it's worth it. So I wanted to read the books and review books that are striving to teach you what contemporary art is and what art is in general. So for example, I have here Who's Afraid of Contemporary Art by Kyung-Ang and Jessica Scarassi. I hope I pronounced the names correctly. Very interesting one. Another one is Playing to the Gallery by Grayson Perry, and this one is written by the artist Grayson Perry, and their view on like exhibition design and the interaction between art and visitors. And also here I have Artoons. So this is the artist El Guerra, and he makes these cartoons. Yeah, basically his criticism of institution and art world. Anyways, the rest of them, again, they are just, art history. I think the most interesting collection of books here is The Social History of Art by Hauser. So these are 2 volumes of one work. This is probably one of the first art historians, philosophers, and thinkers in the world and in our history who started to see art from the social perspective. So what is the role of art, not from aesthetical perspective, why the things are beautiful, why it is nice to see them, but rather like what is the role of production of art, for example. So this is very important, let's say, work in art history, and yes, of course I have to have it. So this is it. The rest of them are quite, boring, like how to write about contemporary art, for example, or methods and theories in art history, the critical historians of art. So these are just, for my studies. Oh yeah, also another important one, The German Ideology by Engels and Marx. Also a very important theoretical work. So yeah, I'm gonna pack this today, and I will switch to another shelves. Hopefully also today, if I have time, because I actually have a Korean class in 10 minutes, so I need to go. Yeah, but I'll see you very soon. I actually completely forgot that I have books here at my working table. It's always a mess, so please don't look at it. But I have a couple of books that might interest you. So this one, for example, is Author Theory as Feminist Practice in Art, Writing, and Criticism. So I usually enjoy books, for example, that are considered to be out of theory. And yes, I wanted to learn more about it. Again, books for my PhD project. Also, I have this small collection of very short introduction by Oxford. So I have contemporary art, of course, Islam, very short introduction, and Hegel. Never finished that one. I also have a couple of brochures. They are from like local museums and exhibitions. And this one is in Russian. This is like I would say Principles of Curatorship. I'm not sure what's the original title. Wait, let me check. Curation: The Power of Selection in the World of Access by Michael Beskar. And I would say it's not only useful for curators, but just in general, it's a nice, interesting nonfiction book. Yeah, I have obviously study books for my Korean classes. This one, probably one of the first study books that I purchased. This is probably is known for those who study Korean. It's produced by Talk to Me in Korean. It's now a very, I would say, big production company who make YouTube videos, books, and classes. And yeah, this one, the first one, to learn Hangul, which is a Korean alphabet. I also have, oh yeah, this one is so good. Historical Linguistic by Trask. I would say it's probably one of the like table books of all the linguists, and I enjoy linguistics. I would love to study it, in more details or professionally, but no time, not in this life perhaps. But I started to learn a lot from this book, and this was a blast. I enjoyed it, and it's not difficult to understand. There are a lot of nice examples, and if you're interested in linguistics, I would recommend to pick that up. Oh yeah, and this is my first 500 Korean words, another book that I purchased in my Korean language learning process. And also a couple of books on art, How to Visit a Museum, The Story of Looking. This is also interesting, not just for art lovers, but also film lovers and, anybody who's interested in vision, let's say. And finally, Art Day by Day. It's basically like a calendar, but for each day there's an art event that happened on that day, and that was important for art history. I don't know, I started to read it, but then I realized that the selection of those events not, I don't know, particularly interesting to me. But we'll see, maybe I'll continue one day and maybe I'll find something interesting. So yeah, that's it for now. I think I need to pack these things. Okay, welcome back, and this time we're on the opposite side where we have another calyx. Let's begin with the most obvious one, I think. So this is again another attempt to color code. Here I have, I think, one of my favorite books of all time, Pachinko, and I cannot stop talking about this book. Margaret Atwood, The Handmaid's Tale. Good book, I think, worth reading. It was nice to be introduced to this book. Virginia Woolf, A Room of One's Own, and another essay, Three Guineas. Never read that second one, but I do love A Room of One's Own. very important for art history. This year I made a video about women writing about art, so books written by women or about women, and this one in my list, so if you want you can go check that video out. I think it was fun and I like that. I enjoyed creating it. I also have a couple of, theory here. So this is the Penguin Book of Feminist Writing. That was a gift from one of my girlfriends. And yeah, I'm really, really loving it. Also, another book is that I purchased for myself, but actually I got, I don't know why, 2 copies of the same book. So I gifted one to my friend and one I kept for myself. So this is Women's Artists by Taschen. So this is the collection of 25 women artists from around the world. So this one is also a very beautiful edition. Here, yes, I also have a very notable work that I enjoyed very much, The Future is History by Masha Gessen. If you're interested in contemporary Russian history, if you're interested like in political science, let's say, or in political history of Russia, I would recommend to pick that up. It's a gorgeous journalistic investigation. So these 2 beautiful books were purchased by me and read by me for my books about contemporary art project that I never finished, so they're still waiting for their moment, I guess. And of course, German classics, Karl Marx, Das Kapital. I purchased it in German, and I thought that yes, of course I can read German. It will be easy. And of course it's not easy to read Das Kapital in original German language. I think it's just really important work that people should know and everybody should have in their German homes. Here in this section I have, with the exception of a couple of books, I think my most ambitious books that I would love to read, but I haven't get a chance, so they stand here in the middle of the room and remind me about my failure. Let's actually begin with the books that I've completed. So this one is the At the Existentialist Cafe, Freedom Being in Apricot Cocktails by Sarah Bakewell. Also we have here Maud Newton and Chester's Trouble, which I also read, I think this year. It was a good investigation, good overview of how people investigate their family history. And also this book, very nice one, The Stone Reader, Modern Philosophy in 133 Arguments. It is a collection of 133 articles on various philosophical subjects, but they are all related to, let's say, our modern world. So whenever we have a new technology, let's say, or a new conundrum, philosophers jump right into it, write an article, and they, refer to the history of philosophy, of course, to the current ideas and how we should think about things. Like, for example, one of the subjects was artificial intelligence and whether it's moral to create something like that, and whether it's okay, and what if this intelligence takes over our working place. This book was published in 2016, however the articles of course were published in the New York Times before that, and it is still relevant, I would say. So some of the questions that we perplex ourselves nowadays, veganism, I don't know, climate change, technological development, globalization, so you name it, and you probably can find a philosophical investigation on that subject here. So these are the books on this shelf that I've read. The rest of them never finished. Okay, except the T.C. Eliot. So I have 2 books by T.C. Eliot. One, of course, the Selected Poems, and another one is his theoretical work, The Use of Poetry and the Use of Criticism, that I never actually got to read. I will do my best maybe someday. But of course, I read his one of the most celebrated, I think, and famous poems, which is called The Wasteland, and I have to admit it was a difficult experience. He again introduced me to the modern poetry, which I discovered with the help of these little books. Actually, they're standing here. We have here a little shelf for small editions. So this is, for example, my little collection of Penguin Modern Classics. So I have not a complete one. I know I've seen somewhere on the internet that there is like a complete collection of these little books, like 50 of them or something like that. Some of them I purchased in Amsterdam and some of them in Berlin, I think. Susan Sontag Notes on Camp, must read. Betty Friedan, The Problem That Has No Name. I actually would love to read like complete works of hers. Oh yes, and so here we also have Allen Ginsberg and Gertrude Stein. This reading was very, let's say, contemporary, and I can't believe that it was written in the 20th century, you know? Especially, for example, Gertrude Stein. So this is not written as a poem, so it doesn't have this form, let's say, doesn't have these lines. However, when you read it, it sounds like a poem. And this is what I appreciate about this work. Again, it's Gertrude Stein, Food. So when I started to read it, I read it, of course, silently, sitting in my room. But then I started to actually read it aloud. I was sitting alone in my home. And then I realized how it sounds. And when you hear the sound, it actually makes sense. All these words, they kind of like combine in one little song. I was like sitting alone, almost rapping, and I enjoyed that experience, you know. So yes, Allen Ginsberg, Gertrude Stein go to my little modern poetry collection. Here I also have, let's finish with this small one. George Orwell, Notes on Nationalism, haven't read yet. Anais Nin, The Veiled Woman. Martin Luther King Jr., Letter from Birmingham Jail, Andy Warhol Fame, and Stanislav Lem, The Three Electronites. So far so good. I have this small collection, and of course it travels with me as well. But let's go back to the unrealized projects, let's say. So this one is, for example, Biography of Washington by Ron Chernow. So I purchased that because I've seen this little sticker, or how do you call it, winner of the Pulitzer Prize. And I think it was around the time when I read the Susan Sontag biography, and it was the same size, and it was, I will show it later, of course, I have it in my collection, and I enjoy that, and it was so much fun to read, you know, the biography of just one person, a meticulously written biography, let's say. And I wanted to try something more. I picked Washington, and I was so disappointed. I don't know, maybe because, you know, we deal with the 18th century history, and I'm not particularly interested, let's say, in that period of historical time, and I don't know, I dropped it. Anyways, so I still have it, just you know, maybe as a reminder that I need to come back to it at some point. The next one here is House of Leaves by Mark Danilevsky. So this one, again, quite iconic, I think. Haven't got a chance yet to get to it. I will eventually, maybe next year, so yeah, wait for it. Here I also have Hannah Arendt, The Origins of Totalitarianism, and I have a great pairing to this book, which is Hannah Arendt, For Love of the World by Elizabeth Young Bruhl. So Elizabeth Young Bruhl, I think she was a student of hers at a very late age of Hannah Arendt, and she wrote a biography about her. Why I have them here? So I think, first of all, The Origin of Totalitarianism is the book that every Russian person should read in order to understand a little bit, you know, political science and the ideas behind it. But also here where I live in the city of Bonn, there is a Bundeskunsthalle, which is an exhibition hall, let's say, and they have various temporary exhibitions all the time. And I like their project that they have right now. They dedicate one specific hall to one person, so usually intellectuals, you know, or, you know, important artists. And that project was first opened with the exhibition about Hannah Arendt, so that's why I went there, I checked that out, I enjoyed it immensely. It was really well done, well executed exhibition. At that time I already started to read The Origins of Totalitarianism. I haven't finished it, unfortunately. I'm always more than half through, but I haven't finished that. I also purchased after that exhibition the biography of Hannah Arendt to again deep dive into the life of this wonderful person. But anyways, I keep it here nearby. Maybe I will come back to it. Here at the top of the shelf, let's talk about this section, and I think it will be enough for me to fill out another 2 boxes. And it's gonna be enough for today as well, because I'm very tired. I've had a long day. I'm organizing now the kitchen renovation, and it's kind of difficult. But yes, It's difficult because you need to talk like in German on the subjects that you never talked before. But anyways, so that was another yet failed attempt to make kind of like a color coding. I was trying to collect the books of the same, let's say, quality, hard copies, same colors, but no, just ignore that. Anyway, so here I have the Inkblot by Damien Searle. So this is the biography of very famous, I would say, sleuth psychologist Herman Rorschach, who created the infamous Rorschach test. This was actually quite fascinating read. I picked this book because I was trying to find art and art expression in some, unexpected places, and I think Rorschach test is one of those examples because it was kind of like an art project for him. And if you want to learn more about how he ended up with this test, check out this book. It's pretty good. It's actually quite fascinating. And the history of that time, early 20th century, Russian emigres and Rorschach, there was like everything I liked in this book. I also have a couple of books here that I purchased specifically for my, video ideas, and I still have it, so I'm not gonna spoil it, just in case I actually get to make this video, but I don't want to spoil even the subject of this video. Here I also have Walk Through Walls, the biography of Marina Abramovich. Oh, sorry, that's a bit dusty. Sorry, Marina. Very great. I also recommended it in one of my videos about women writing about art, or women being artists, The next one here is Around the World in 80 Plants. I think I already showed you this book. Very good timing to show you this book, because if you're still looking for some, gift ideas for your friends who may be interested in gardening and plants and, biology and nature, that will be such a beautiful gift, because the illustrations there are stunning, and I think I can't shut up about this book. Like whenever I hold it in my hands, like I always show it to everybody. Here I also have a couple of editions by the Mina Lima publishing house or design house. So this is The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, and 2 books by infamous Rowling, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, and here Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Another one here is Paris Bookseller by Karen Mayer. Wonderful book. Can only recommend it. Here, a couple of classics. Bambi. Look at this. Very beautiful edition of Bambi. I tried to read it in German. I think I announced it also like in one of my TBR. Haven't had a chance to finish it, unfortunately, because apparently the language is quite difficult for me to understand. Yeah, and also I have here Paradise Lost and Paradise Regained by John Milton, my former colleague, so he's now in retirement. He is actually from the UK, and he spent almost all his life here in Germany, and he actually told me that this is like worth reading. And I know it's classics and everybody read this book. I unfortunately haven't had a chance, but maybe I will do my best, but I guess I need an assistant to understand some parts of it, maybe some annotations or something, or lecture. We'll see about that. Another classics I have here, Jude the Obscure by Thomas Hardy. Heartbreaking, and I actually, maybe I'm a masochist or something like that, but I would love to go back to Thomas Hardy and learn more of his works. So I think these are all that I wanted to show you right now. Hey, what's up? I've just realized that I have too much footage and it's gonna be like a pretty long video already, so I decided to stop it here and divide this video into 2 parts. So this is the end of the first part. Thank you very much for watching. If you ever reached this point of the video, I'm so happy that you're here and I appreciate it very, very much. I'm really happy that you decided to share my experience with you and spend some time with me. It's actually a pretty cool process for me as well, because going through all your library and see the books that you purchased and the reasons why you purchased them, why you obtained them, it's actually pretty interesting. It makes a lot of thoughts about yourself, and it kind of like creates this intellectual map of yourself, even the books that you haven't read. they represent you as well, and that's I find fascinating. Really enjoying this process, and yeah, I will continue the next one, certainly. And if you find it interesting, please feel free to comment anything in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.